I am Winston McLovin, here live on location with Radio Free Winlove at the Kootenay Yoga Festival at the Valican Whole Community Center in Valican, and I am here with Jase.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really good. How do you pronounce your last name, Jase?
Aether.
Aether.
Yeah, earth, air, fire, water, ether.
All right, and you are here. Your offerings are Dance Journey into Authentic Self.
Yes, and also an intro to circling as well tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what can you tell me about your offerings here at the festival this year?
Yeah, so Dance Journey to Your Authentic Self. It's a dance journey. I'll be DJing and then playing instruments over the top, looping didge and vocals and percussion. I'm also joined by my buddy Trevor on handpan and other percussion, and then Dave is also going to join us later on. We're going to end the journey with a sound bath, so we kind of bring people back down gently. It's essentially like a moving meditation, a dance exploration with no set steps. It's like a free-form style of dance. It starts out chill. I'll do some light guidance at the start to get people into their bodies, and then we'll get going. And so we'll take everyone through a big journey, through a peak, and then come down gently at the end.
Amazing. So what can you tell me about your journey that's led you to this moment in terms of what you're bringing?
Quite the question. I mean, my own exploration with dance has been quite deep and exploratory, I would say. Definitely have accessed different parts of myself, come up on edges, which, all of this movement practice is rooted in ecstatic dance, which can be quite a loaded term for people. I'm going to get ecstatic. Like, what is that, So I kind of refer to it more like a dance journey, in terms of it's a journey into yourself. But yeah, my own explorations into it. That's a good question. Handful of years ago, I just, through festival culture, through going to different workshops, just discovered the exhilaration and expansion of dancing my authentic self. So that looks like, leaving my friends at a particular stage at a festival, going to another stage completely on my own with no stories of who I need to be or where I'm coming from, and I just like feeling the music and just totally allowing the music to move me. And that's basically the premise of what I'm offering here, is creating the space for people to feel safe and to feel like they can authentically express themselves in a way that is true to them and true to their, in a way that's maybe we don't allow ourselves in regular life. Like if you go in a Bloom or a club or something, there's a bit more projection potentially, maybe not for everyone. But the idea of these spaces is to really allow people to tap into who they truly are and how their body really wants to move them. And so the music is usually constructed in a way very multi-genre, multi-tempos throughout the set, and that encourages people, ideally inspires people to move in different ways to access different parts of their body, thus releasing different areas of maybe tension, stress, old traumas that are maybe not so well explored in other ways.
Yeah, I think back to my own personal dance journey. I remember I had like a breakthrough moment. I mean, I come from like punk rock, heavy metal.
So do I.
Yeah, like
which is kind of interesting.
So there's a mosh pit, right?
Yeah,
and there's real expression in there. And
yeah.
Our mosh pits were always very friendly. It was always somebody falls over, you pick them up.
Community vibe.
Yeah, total community vibe, but really getting it out. And then I kind of moved away from that, got into different kinds of music, and then discovered dance culture. Went to my first rave, and I was terrified of dancing in front of people. I'm like, I'm not dancing in front. What the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And then after a while, my community expanded and got bigger, and we started throwing our own events. And then I'm like, oh, I'm with all my homies here. And then I remember the first time, something snapped in my brain, and my body just let loose.
Yes.
I just came alive, and I didn't see anyone around me.
Yeah.
And it was like a revelation. And then from that point on, I was able to express myself without the fear of, there's a lot of fear of, you have to be vulnerable. I think there's a lot of vulnerability involved in it, right?
100%. Sounds like we have a very similar journey. I also have a similar background. And so this festival culture was very foreign to me, but little by little, getting exposed to different music and different energies in the dance space, that allowed me then to open up more. But similar thing, I had a total breakthrough moment this one time, as I mentioned earlier, when I left my friends and went and did my own thing, again, with no stories, no ideas of who I'm supposed to be, I was able to just be. And then, as you shared, similar thing of just like this full awakening moment of like, holy, wow, I love dance. Like, what the hell
Where
is
did that
this?
come
Where does
from?
it come from? And so that was the start, really. And then deep in the journey from there, heard about ecstatic dance and other things from there.
And of course, you have to have music. And you have, because for me, the music is such a big part of it. I go to a lot of events and I'm just like, ooh, this music does not, my body's not responding to this music at all. It's really got to be something that resonates with me. So it sounds like the choices are pretty important to take people on a journey. It takes, like, what is your process for choosing the different types of emotions that you take people through?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely like a high level of curation that I aspire to with the sets, which is maybe less in the moment, unfortunately, but it's especially with the dance journey, I want to make sure that I'm covering all areas of movement. So as I mentioned earlier, we start out slowly and then build it up, but we'll go through peaks and valleys. But in terms of the song selection, you know, I'll go to like, 20 minutes in or something, I'll go to some heavier, slower bass music, which is, now more where I sit, more down-tempo bass realm. But we can't do a whole set for that, or at least that's not the kind of journey that I want to give people, because if people don't like bass music, as you mentioned, if the music isn't resonating for people, and I see that in the crowd sometimes, I'm like, oh, we'll see how this goes, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is maybe a bit heavy for some people, but then to give them some relief afterwards, so then we go into like a more of a melodic, uplifting vibe after the heavier stuff. And again, that's where we get the accessing different parts of our body, because we're getting this tension, and then we get this relief, and then maybe we go to some drum and bass. And it's, when I say it like that, it sounds a little bit all over the place. It's definitely, I'm slowly building the tempos, but also integrating like different vibes there. So I might have some Afrobeat in the middle. The middle I would call the peak of the journey, so that's probably more deep house, organic house kind of stuff that I can play djembe over, and maybe some Afrobeat stuff. Sometimes I'll even go all the way up to like psytrance, and I'm Australian, so psytrance is big in culture there, but not so much here.
You don't have to convince me about psytrance. It's like one of my...
Oh, interesting. You're probably the first Canadian I've heard say that.
Well, it's like, but if you take, nice one, Winston, good catch. Here's the wind. Need the stakes now. Yeah, psytrance, I find there are elements, because I grew up listening to heavy metal. I mean, I was in a thrash metal band for like 6 years, in my early formative years, and psytrance reminds me of metal. It's got that intensity and all the different melodies. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I probably hate 80% of psytrance.
Yep.
And I love the other.
When it's good, it's good,
When
man.
it's good, it's so good. Yeah, so it's interesting. I saw you you were performing last night, were you?
Yeah,
not?
I also got to spin, some dragon stuff and regular stuff as well. So I'm stoked that 3 of my major passions offerings have been given space here, and that feels really amazing for me.
I really enjoyed your performance last
Thank you.
night, especially. Now, tell me, what is the big stick with the 3?
That's the dragon staff.
That's the dragon staff. So where does the dragon staff come from? Like, what is...
That's
do you even know
great
that?
idea.
Don't know.
I got introduced to it again through festival culture, and then living in the Kootenays now for a few years, I've got a lot of friends with flow arts. Yeah. Flomies, we call it.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of friends that perform as well, so we're jamming at Lakeside all the time in Nelson. And
yeah, well, that was one of my next questions, was where do people find you outside of the yoga festival? Do you have some events coming up? So what do you...
So with a friend of mine, we started a weekly dance called Dance Wave, which is every Wednesday night, 6:30 at the North Shore Hall. So that's a weekly offering. It's rotating DJs. I play every now and then, but it's also a space. I mean, we have no shortage of DJs here. Yeah. But the idea is that the DJs will facilitate some kind of wave to the dance journey. So we do hit those peaks and valleys and all of the emotions, as we mentioned earlier. So that's every week. Next weekend, I'm also co-hosting an equinox gathering. It's called Dance of the Harvest. That's on a private property, but it's open to all. And that will be opening community ceremony. It's kind of rooted in Celtic tradition, so the equinox, solstice, Samhain, these kinds of traditions. Many of us of European culture, descendants, have Celtic lineage within us.
Yeah.
So we've sort of, with these events, whenever it's the solstice or the equinox or these kinds of things, we've been putting on these events. So as I said, they're usually community ceremony. This one will be around the bonfire outside, which is awesome. Adds a bit more of that element of ancestry to the experience. Then we're putting on a feast because it's Dance of the Harvest. It's traditionally the time when we would celebrate the harvest. So putting on a feast, and then we'll have a dance journey.
What is the date on that one?
Saturday 23rd.
Saturday the 23rd.
23rd of September.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
6:30 till 10:30, or 6 till 10:30.
Yeah, we're throwing a similar event on October 14th
Sweet.
at our radio station location in Winlaw.
Nice.
So we do a big feast and we have live bands.
Nice. Yeah, well, we also have friend Joseph Nilo and some friends are playing music during the feast.
Yeah,
and then I'll do a DJ set and with some instruments as well.
Yeah, it sounds like there's opportunities for us to collaborate in the future.
I'm all about collaboration. Let's definitely keep in touch.
Well, how do people find you? So if people want to know about your events and the things you're doing, where do they find you online?
On Facebook is probably unfortunately for some people, is the easiest way that we communicate. If you search for Dance Wave Nelson, that should come up. And then we also advertise our other events through that as well. It's the same. My ex-partner and I both do this together, and that's so we've just kind of had that one central location. We also have an email list, but we don't have a website just yet. We just started the Dance Wave about 6 or 7 weeks ago. But yeah, through Dance Wave on Facebook is probably the easiest way to find out. Otherwise, just come to Dance Wave, 6:30 North Shore Hall, Wednesday night.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Jase, thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for the chance to share about the things I do, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, hopefully we get to come out and experience firsthand what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Let's collab.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cheers.
Thank you. I'm looking over here, right, Winston?
You betcha.
I'm Winston McCloven, Radio Free Winlove, Kootenay Yoga Festival. We'll see you soon. And we have one more question we got to